fantastic celebration here. I'm so excited to be here. I can't even tell you. I obviously waited outside all night. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get in, but I was very excited to be here. I want to thank the organizers for holding this grand celebration in Central Florida in August. Really. Gives us all a chance to experience the actual atmospheric conditions on Dagobah. So, see? I got some knowledge. We're going to have a great time today. We're going to interview a gentleman that I don't know if many of you are familiar with, is really the reason why all of you aren't at a Star Trek convention. What I've decided to do today is, I've got a million questions for George, but what I decided to do today in honor of what is really a fan celebration, these are all just fan questions. And I'm just going to ask him questions that you guys submitted. And who knows, maybe we'll get a couple of more in there. We've got some great surprises for you, but to get things going, I thought perhaps I'd bring out the man who created a franchise that has taken on a life of its own and meant so much to so many different people. Please welcome George. Thank you so much for joining us here. As you can see, there's quite a turnout. Star Wars Celebration 5, this is the main event.
It's just like your show, only smaller audience.
Yes. Just like my show, only popular. Well, very kind of you, one person. I just got here. Here's what I'm going to do. What we did is we gathered a bunch of questions from your fans around the world, and so I'm just going to ask you a series of those, and then we've got a couple of other surprises. Obviously, you're the master of creating worlds, and this is just a really lame version of Hawk. But we're going to... You're welcome. Oh, George.
Thank you, John!
By the way, my action figures are also available. Let's start. I'm sorry, my in-action figures. Let's just start off. First of all, welcome to Orlando, if I may. Have you spent time in Orlando previously? Have you been here before?
Yes. I live in Disney World.
Oh, you do?
Go on the Star Wars ride where we shut it down
flow question, just something easy to kind of break the ice, get us involved in a conversation, allow this thing to progress on its own. In episode 4, R2-D2 flees into the Tatooine night from the Lars homestead. The next morning, Luke and 3PO go off looking for him in Luke's land speeder. Makes sense, an astromech droid could probably roll a long ways in a 12-hour period, so Luke's driving himself and his new protocol droid across the desert landscape. And what? Hey, what? Hold on. What? Huh? What? Luke isn't driving? 3PO's got the steering wheel? What the? Why? What? 3PO? Guy's been on Tatooine 60 hours. And 2 days prior, he was wandering around lost. Now he's driving a land speeder. 24 hours earlier, he says, I'm not even sure which planet I'm on. Now he's cruising around driving this Daisy style. Has Luke got the pride? This guy's fantastic. Hotshot, he's flying skyhoppers. God knows what else through space. He knows how to do it. He loves speed, yet he lets a robot drive. Now, the question is, his land speeder wasn't an XP-38, but an inferior X-34. All I know is I would let the other far more confused robot navigate. George, why?
Well, it's amazing what wonders a good oil bath can do for me. Once he relaxed, he got to his old self, which means that he can't do anything, but he can do it well.
Right. Does a protocol droid come with a GPS? Did he have that within the system and then he...
No. R2 was the GPS system.
Ah.
So without R2, he's lost.
Here's an interesting question for you. This is just something that I know. You know, as I walked around the convention hall, there were R2-D2s, full size, being moved around like laser guided. Some were hovering. One made me a sandwich. Like, you know, the struggles that you had in filmmaking. What is it like to come here and see this room filled with working droids?
Well, it's a tragedy. One of the great ironies of life, which is I spent literally 8 years trying to get R2 to work, go more than 10 feet in a straight line, to be able to have one droid that could actually kick his leg out and go into the tripod position and move forward all at once. In the end, the droids, there were 8 of them, were so inadequate that we had to take a fiberglass mold of one of them and put it on a couple of sticks and run with some wagon wheels on it and pull it by a string. And here, they have the most beautiful R2 units you'd ever possibly imagine. They're magnificent. If only I could make another Star Wars. all the writing is done between 5:45 and 6. Because I can't put it off anymore. I've got to get my 3 pages done, otherwise I'm toast. So I spend the rest of the day doing things that are supposed to be important but aren't, but really are just a matter of waiting to get the mail. And one of those things is to write down names. I have a little book that has names, so I'm constantly saying, oh, that'd be a good name. And I do it with my son, with my, wherever we are in a restaurant, so I'm like, oh, that's a good name, I'll write that down. And
so what do you have characters like friendlies? Like what, where, oh, there's a new Admiral Nabisco.
Well, if you look real hard, you're going to see a lot of that. What I say, Ewoks is a derivation of where we live and then where the Skywalker Ranch is on an old Indian site where an Indian village was, Miwok Indians. So that's where Miwok came from. Dexter Jetster is named after my son Jet, who I call Jetster. What were some of the other ones we had?
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader?
Yeah.
Oh, everybody knows that one. That's Darth Water and or Dark Father. And
right.
It's Dark Father in Dutch, or Dutchish.
Dutchish? Is there a Dutchish language? I didn't realize that. It's very similar to Belgian.
Right next to Belgium.
Yes.
You can see that Belgium actually was taken over by Star Wars. And
this actually, I think we can watch. I'm walking through the convention center, and there's a TIE fighter, and it's a full-sized TIE fighter. And I said, oh, that's amazing. And George brought that in here for people to see, and they're like, no, that was built by the Belgian 501st.
yeah. So
And,
there's a political controversy there, whether they're French, whether they're German, whether they're Belgian, and so they're going to split into 3 different countries. Now it's 4 different countries. One of them is Valorant. and there's a bunch of the 501st that are starting their own army there. They're going to actually break away when the whole referendum happens.
what does it feel like when you see the 501st and there are divisions and these sort of elite costuming organizations in every country in the world? Obviously, I think, is Germany the largest outside the United States? I know Florida is the largest in the United States.
The thing about the 501st that's great is it just sprang into life, from the fans, from going to conventions,
right.
Building the suits, and then 2 guys get together, and I want to do that too, and now it's like 5,000 strong in 32 countries, and they're everywhere I go, wherever we need them, and the thing of visiting kids in hospitals, you don't understand the significance of that until you actually see it in action, and you see the smiles on the kids' faces, being overwhelmed. It's just, it's a great thing all the way around.
Is there any concern? Well, you see that the largest 501st overseas is in Germany. Do you have any? When you see that, I guess they're called stormtroopers. If I can, does the Polish 501st ever get nervous? The German 501st, they're going to be coming in here. They're going to annex power.
I noticed that the Belgian 501st has got TIE fighters, they've got Jabba the Hutt. I mean, nobody's going to take over Belgium.
That's a secret organization, exactly. This is something from actually someone in Orlando, Florida named Matt, so I'm assuming that they know who they are. This is more of a process type question. So obviously now when you look back, it seems sort of preordained that there would be a great success to these stories. But when you're doing A New Hope, and this really is a very different style of filmmaking and a new type of film, how do you stay positive when everything is sort of turning against you in being able to produce this, and being able to create it in the style that you have imagined it? What was the feeling like at that time?
Well, it helps me nuts.
It helps me nuts.
part of that, out of that, with people that like to create things, is an obsession to not have other people intrude. And you have to have such persistence, be so stubborn, and just say, I'm right, I don't care what the rest of the world thinks. God help you if you're wrong, but it's the only way you can do it, is just march forward no matter what happens and say, I'm right, this is going to be fine, and you just keep going no matter what the odds are against you. On New Hope, and even then on Attack, too many of them, the Empire Strikes Back, it was very dark. Even after, the first New Hope, getting the next film going was very, very difficult. And there was a lot of times where it looked like it wouldn't get finished, and we went through a whole lot of stuff. And you just say, I believe in this completely, and I will sink with the ship if that's what it comes down to. And if you don't have that commitment, it won't happen.
And how did that work out for you?
Yeah, I ended up taking over my life. And,
Sure.
I'll never be the same.
Is there anything that happened in that process that was changed by other forces that you would change back? Were there certain network decisions or studio decisions or things like that that affected the final product in a manner that to this day stick with you, or you were able to push it through?
I was very lucky in that I'm from San Francisco. My studio was in San Francisco. We're a long way from Hollywood.
Right.
I made the movies in England. I tried to stay as far away from those guys as possible. When I did American Graffiti, it was, a disaster. They didn't even count it as a movie. It was like they were trying to decide whether they were going to release it as a TV movie or not, because they didn't think it was that good. So when they finally got a hold of it, they didn't see anything. At the very end, they said, oh, we got to change it, and they cut 5 minutes out, for whatever reason, I don't know. And made me very angry, but then it became a giant hit. Then I wrote on the coattails of American Graffiti, and was fortunate to find a studio executive, Alan Ladd Jr., that said, look, you got another project? And I said, well, I got this sort of space opera thing. It's not, it's really goofy. And so he read the script, and he said, look, I don't understand what you're doing. I think you're a talented guy, and I'll invest in you. And then he had to sort of keep selling it to the studio's board of directors and stuff for like 2 years, because they really didn't, they weren't quite as open to new ideas as
he championed you all the way through.
Championed me all the way through. The only thing I didn't get to do is, obviously, we ran out of money. We went over schedule. I couldn't do the Jabba the Hutt scene. I couldn't do some of the special effects. So I had to bring my vision down quite a bit. And but being persistent and stubborn in the way I am, when Star Wars became a huge success, I went back. Warner Brothers had recut my first film, THX, and I forced them to put it back the way it was. And I went to Universal, and I forced them to put it back the way it was. This was before VHS, by the way. And so when VHS came out, it came out with my version, and then...
All right.
He's another George.
Wow. Nicely done. All right, here's from Dave from San Francisco, the hometown. This one is sort of more of a logic question. Luke Skywalker. We're trying to keep him hidden, obviously, from Darth Vader. His last name was also Skywalker. When Vader saw on CNN that it was Luke Skywalker who had blown up the Death Star, do you think he would have thought, boy, that name sounds familiar? Was there any thought to maybe making it Luke Ginsburg? Any alias that would have helped keep him somewhat Stewart, maybe?
Well, there is a logic to that, believe it or not, which is, one, there are a lot of Skywalkers.
Right.
You sort of look at it as one Skywalker in the universe. No, you should see the phone book.
I thought Skywalker was a somewhat unique name.
No. Skywalker wine.
Oh, really?
That and the other part, which is the one place that is the most painful for Anakin Skywalker, is Tatooine. Because that's where he grew up. That's where he lost his mother. The core of his sense of loss is on that planet. So, you know, it's called denial. You know, there's a planet called Denial, too. It's not just a place in Egypt. And that's the planet of Tatooine for Darth Vader. Now, you will notice also that the Emperor has long suspected that there are children. You gotta remember in the beginning, they don't even know that, Vader doesn't know that there are children at all, really.
Right.
You know, because he
Well,
killed...
he thinks Padme's gone.
Yeah, he killed Padme, he didn't know that the babies actually existed, you know, they died too, and so as far as they're concerned, there is no, you know, as I say, so that when he just put that out of his mind. But the Emperor knew that there was a possibility, because he's told a lie that said, you killed her.
Right.
But he actually didn't. But, so he's the one, and he knew that she was pregnant and that there was this possibility that these kids may still be alive. When Luke blows up the Death Star, and you come back and this movie we're celebrating now for 30 years, the first thing he says is, Skywalker is alive. There is another Skywalker. Your son lives. And that's like the first time that Vader really finds out that he does have a son, his son lives. But the Emperor kind of knew it, and he was just waiting for something to get the sense of the ripple in the Force to sense, aha. You know? And Vader kind of...
be old enough to create a ripple in the Force? Was he not able to, when he was younger, did it not create the kind of ripple?
Well, when he was younger, he wasn't even, he was just a dumb little kid.
Just shooting womp rats down.
Yeah.
Womp rats. By the way, after somebody figured out that the names were both Skywalker, or is that a pre-cognitive, is all this planned out beforehand, all these backstories, or do you have to go back in once you lay it out and create a backstory through it?
No, I just make it up when I
it's so interesting when you create, you know, so much of what you do seems to be influenced by mythology and sort of these grand tales of morality throughout the past. And it's so intricate that to create these universes,
there's a whole story behind all that, which is in the beginning, I did do a movie. It was supposed to be one movie. It was sort of the tragedy of Darth Vader, or the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker. But it started out with this monstrous guy. It started on episode 4. So you were in like a Republic serial or a Saturday matinee serial or an episode of 24, and you missed the first episode.
right?
You come in, and this big monster guy comes in and kills everybody and all this sort of stuff. And then halfway through the movie, you realize, or he realizes, that his main opponent is his son. And then, in the end, his son redeems him. But the movie was way too big, so I couldn't do that. So I did one movie, which is the first act.
Right.
And then as I put it out, you know, once every 3 years, Darth Vader was such a more powerful figure than I ever imagined he would be. He sort of overwhelmed the movie, and then the question is he a human? Is he not a human? Before you heard that all in one sentence. Now you broke it up. So you jump to conclusions, you know, sort of like an edited videotape where you sort of think one thing, but the truth is if you see the whole thing as something else. That's what happened. But in order to tell that story, episode 4, I had to write the backstory, which was not meant to be a movie. It was just meant to say, well, who is Darth Vader? Where did he come from? Where is the Empire? Where is the Republic? Who are all these people? So I had to put all that stuff out there in order to get to the end. But because it got so spread out, it got very diffused. So the story was kind of half directing me, and I was half directing the story in terms of how much I had to do it. And because the backstory was not filmable, just technologically, you couldn't shoot Coruscant, and Yoda couldn't. I barely got Yoda. The big technological breakthrough in Empire Strikes Back was the fact that we got a Muppet look real enough for people to believe it was a real thing and not just a sock. But obviously he couldn't walk, more than that far, and he could never show his feet, and there was just all these things he could. Obviously he couldn't sword fight, and I knew in the beginning he was a Jedi master, and he fought, but I couldn't show that because how can I do that with a puppet? So it wasn't until actually digital technology came over into my reality that I said, I could tell the real tragedy of Darth Vader, start with him as a little kid and follow all the way through so you can see the whole story. Because I wrote it already, it's done. And of course, that's where having my own company, doing it myself, really did pay off because, and obviously there's a group of people that wish that the studio had done it, but the thing is, when I first went and said to some of the people in my company, I said, I'm making the movie.
You realize you're doing the Jedi mind trick.
Yeah.
This is not the film you're looking for.
Yeah. You will never let this down. But, they said, oh, we're going to do the first one. I said, well, I'll do 3. I'll do the trilogy and everything. And I said, the first one is, obviously it's the story of how Darth Vader came to be Darth Vader. Oh, fantastic, Darth Vader. And the studio especially said, oh, man, we're there 110%. And I said, well, I'm starting when he's a 10-year-old boy. And you're never going to see Darth Vader. In the suit. And I said, oh, no, you're going to destroy the franchise. It's going to be terrible. Nobody wants to see a movie about a 10-year-old boy. Oh, you're just destroying the whole thing. They said, it's not, we want to see Darth Vader go out and kill a bunch of people. And I said, but that's not the story. There is actually a story. It starts here and ends there, and it's actually a story. And the first chapter is usually pretty boring, which is why I started chapter 4. They might want to know what happened and the whole story. So I said, I'm going to do this. But if the studio owned the property, it would never have happened. It would be basically like, Star Wars 6, 7, 8, 9. It'd all be exactly the same movie over and over again.
Right.
Same story, doing the same thing. Sword fights in every one of them.
Was there ever through the process, in your own mind, a change of whether or not this would be a story of redemption, whether or not Darth Vader would be redeemed at the end? Was there ever a thought to the darkness of it?
He was always going to be redeemed because that was basically the story. The problem I had is because when I did the first one, and again, when I did the first one, you got to remember this was a completely wacky idea. I mean, again, I walked in and I said, well, this is about a guy and his dog who fly spaceships and a little kid who's, lost in the desert. And they just had no idea what I was talking about. And of course, the idea this would be commercial is, there's no movie stars in it. There's no, it's not based on a book. It's not on anything that anybody could deal with. So they just said, well, this is going to fail. So, but because I believed in it, and I wanted to see all 3 movies made, when I made the deal, instead of taking a big chunk of money, because when I made the deal, I was broke and I needed the money just to survive, to write the script. But then by the time I got the script done, American Graffiti came out, and I was a big successful guy. So instead of asking for more money, all I did is I want the rights to the sequels. But of course, the sequel to a terrible movie that's not going to go anywhere. And I was paying, about $1 million for it. So, I mean, in terms of what I could have had for a salary and what I actually got for a salary, which was very low. And they said, well, they're a corporation. They said, hey, this makes our next quarter look good. We don't have to spend the money. We're giving away something that's probably not worth anything anyway. But I did it because I was determined to make the movies. I assumed the first one would be a failure. I assumed I would take the second one out and beat everybody over the head and somehow get it made, and the third one would get made. So it was that process that drove me to doing it and making sure that the redemption was there. At the end of Empire, now, anybody that knows much about writing, you got the first act, or the first chapters where you're introducing everybody, saying what the problem is and all that sort of thing. The middle part, it progresses. And in the last part, you have the climax and whatever happens, happens. But the middle part is basically not much. You know, it's just the part between the getting to know the characters and find out what happens to them. So I was looking at this and I said, this is going to be hard. Because I was ending it on a real downer. I mean, after all, you know, I'm your father cutting your hand off. That's a little rough. And I did bring in a few psychologists, and I said, look, is this, you know, if you were a 10-year-old boy, would this be a harmful thing to you? Because let's face it, that's, mythologically speaking, and I base this whole thing on psychological motifs, that is a real key motif. Not including the part about your mother. But, and I talked to them and they said, you know, it won't hurt them at all. I said, really? Because I was worried about it.
Right. And
I said, why? I said, well, Darth Vader's a bad guy. And some kids will be able to handle him depending on their age range. And they'll just say, that's interesting. And the others who can't handle it emotionally will just say, well, Darth Vader's lying. I mean, he's a bad guy. He just lies about everything. And they won't believe it. And they won't believe it. He's not his father. So they have a built-in safety net to keep them from understanding the true nature of their father.
How about my kids are? Here's a quick one from Nick in Nutley, New Jersey. Most impressive fan-made Star Wars memorabilia. Anything that a fan has made that, well, don't you have like something that you've seen that somebody sent to you, piece of something that you love?
Something that's sort of been given to me?
Yeah.
I got a little me in carbon freezing, which I liked a lot.
Really?
And then I got another one, which was a Jar Jar Binks in carbon freezing. And that one was so good, as a little one, they actually made a big one at ILM. So we have a full-size one. They have the real one from Han Solo.
That's actually...
And next to it is that one, yeah, which is the Jar Jar Binks.
They seem to appreciate him in carbon.
But there's always got to be somebody who takes the brunt of the same ridicule. And in the first film, it was 3PO.
Right.
Nobody could stand 3PO. They hated him. He was the worst character on earth. All he did was talk. He was fussy. They couldn't stand him. Then, in the third film, we introduced the cute little Ewoks. And that then took all the pressure off 3PO. They hated the Ewoks. They said, they were going to lynch me and do all kinds of terrible things. And because the design we had in the design group was dare to be cute. we knew we'd get killed for it, but we said, we gotta, why not? And then obviously the last victim of this ridicule has been poor old Jar Jar Binks, which is basically he is the same sort of fussy, bumble guy that 3PO was.
Right.
But anyway.
Guess who my kids love?
There's got to be somebody in there for me to
They
hate.
love Jar Jar. Love him. You can never write with your audience mind, you have to write to the story in mind. Right? That's the way that I've always found it.
Well, younger comedy, the older fans don't like.
Right.
And we know we have a real, honest-to-God generation gap with Star Wars, which is we found out from the first, brought out episode 1, which is anybody over 40 loves 4, 5, and 6. Hates 1, 2, and 3. But you will notice that the kids that are under 40 or under 30, put it that way, under 30 all love 1, 2, and 3, including Jar Jar Binks, and hate 4, 5, and 6. That set has grown up a little bit. Right. Now we've got the Clone Wars, which means the under 10-year-olds don't even know about Star Wars. All they know about it is Ahsoka. And they're happy.
Are you working Anything that you can inject into your audience through ultrasound.
We are doing that right now. Seth Green. A little cartoon show like SpongeBob SquarePants for 4 and 5-year-olds, and he still believes that it's for, 21-year-olds. So, as far as he knows, and everybody knows, it's for 21-year-olds. It just doesn't look like it for 5-year-olds. It'll be some strange kind of mishmash that nobody at this point really knows what's going to happen. But I know one thing, it'll be funny.
Let's talk a little bit about sort of the overriding, there's a lot of spirituality to it. The Force, the inspiration for the Force. You put these out as stories. Did you ever think, you know what, why don't I just turn this into Dianetics? Forget about merchandise. Start my own religion, move everybody out to the desert. Do a little number on that. What was the idea originally?
Well,
utilizing?
the Force ultimately was, I had studied comparative mythology, and so what I did basically was take the intelligent root of the God idea, and I went through all of the religions, and I found the commonality. And the commonality ultimately is what the Force is, which is it's all religion. So you can interpret it any way you want, and obviously it's sliced and diced very thin, no matter whether you're Christian or Muslim or anything. There's like 16 or 25 or 35.
You can say Jew. You can say
Jews. There's fewer Jews, so there's fewer versions.
Less midichlorians.
Yeah. You get what? Maybe there's like 2 or 3 dozen sects of different.
Right.
You got the Orthodox, the Progressive, the
Reform, which is Jews that eat bacon.
Yeah, you don't have the nice history the Christians have, where it was all Catholic, and then they broke to the Protestants, and the Protestants broke up, and then the Catholic broke up, and then pretty soon you have all these. At least the Muslims, they only have Shia and Sunni, so it's like it's much easier to track. But everybody breaks it all up, but they still have a lot in common. Matter of fact, they all have the same God. That sort of helps for the start. So then if you say, well, what is that God? And then you say, well, we're not going to make it a person or anything. We're going to just go back to animism and the really early religions. You end up with basically what the Force is, which is some higher power. And the way it works, the interaction is, the way most religions interact.
Right.
So, it's basically a way of keeping spirituality alive.
Is the idea that the Jedi is kind of a priest, but that, they can channel that Force through them, and that, they can actually utilize it, in sort of modern society, they're not able.
It's the monk idea. Whether you go to the Christian monk or the thing, or the Templar, Knights Templar, or you go to the Buddhist monks or the Kung Fu monks, you get a warrior monk. And then the idea with Star Wars is that the monks are really not warriors; they're negotiators. They're just the mafia. Which or as Teddy Roosevelt would say, they negotiate disputes between planets, between things. They're not like policemen or anything, but between planets and things.
Right.
But they negotiate with a big stick, with a big lightsaber. So if you don't sort of come to a conclusion, with your dispute with each other, I will settle it for you.
Now, was there any reason why they couldn't get married? Was that the emotion of it, or the idea that they love something would be?
The idea is that, the whole idea of the movie ultimately is that you have the light side and you have the dark side. The light side is compassion, which means you care about other people. The dark side is you care only about yourself, and you're obsessed with yourself and getting your pleasure and getting all your stuff. The other one is you give it to everybody. You give goodness and help to everybody else. So the issue of love, there's a line between loving somebody compassionately and caring about them and helping them, but the other line is not to be greedy, or once you're greedy, then you get fearful because you don't want to lose what it is you have that you're getting. So you have to learn to give up everything. So, and ultimately for a Jedi Knight, it's very easy to give up, and one of the things they give up is marriage. They can still love people, but they can't possess them. They can't own them. They can't, demand that they do things. And they have to be able to accept the fact, one, of their mortality and they're going to die, and not worry about it. That the loved ones they have, everything they love is going to die, and they can't do anything about it. I mean, they can protect them as you would ordinarily protect, get out of the way of that car, somebody charges you with a gun, you knock the gun out. But there is an inevitability to life, which is death, and you have to accept that. The problem with, and this is a mythological idea that goes way back, to Hades, where if once you get power, it corrupts you. So if you say, Anakin, he fell in love with Padme, and became possessive of her. He got jealous and all those things. And then when he found out that she was going to die, he would do anything to stop that from happening. Even to the point of making a pact with the devil to say, give me the power to save my wife. I'll do your bidding. Well, he got the power to save his wife, but in the process, his wife, he became powerful. And the key to it is he said, okay, I can save you from dying. I can even rule the universe. I can take it. Everybody who gets the power wants to run the universe. They all want to be the emperor. So that's why there's only 2 Sith. There used to be a lot of them, but they all killed each other off. Because they were all fighting over who got to be the king. So it was always one Sith Lord and one apprentice. And the apprentice was always plotting to get somebody else to join him. Hey, you and me get together and go kill the emperor. So they're always doing that. So then when Anakin says, well, I'm powerful now, I'm even more powerful than Palpatine, I can take over the universe, and it'll be the way I want it to be. It'll be great. And of course, Padme says, my God, you're not the person I fell in love with. I don't love you anymore. And then he lost everything he had.
So what I take from that is Jedis can have one-night stands. This is one for me. So Palpatine insinuates that Darth Plagueis taught him the power over life and death. And then he kind of insinuates, too bad that guy got killed in his sleep. Did he kill him in his sleep?
In theory, yeah, you can kill him.
He did. In his sleep.
That's what apprentices do.
Yes. For you, it's just talking about sort of your legacy within Star Wars. Do you ever consider that? Do you think about what your mark is, or you still just consider yourself a storyteller who believed in what he was?
Yeah, I'm still a guy that just makes movies, tells stories. Star Wars obviously snuck up and grabbed me and threw me across the room, beat me against the wall. And it's been a very slow process of me accepting the reality of what's happening.
Right.
And it's also hard to get in my head around the enormity of the whole thing. I'm philosophical enough to know that maybe it'll go on, maybe it won't, but definitely we've made a mark in the 20th century, and maybe it'll still be there in the 21st century. My only hope is the first guy that gets on Mars says, I've wanted to do this ever since I saw Star Wars. One small step for man. So I want to have that.
Right. Of course, the one small step for man thing was obviously fake.
That's fun.
You have the technology. One thing from Lucas. This is a fellow that's named after you. From California. He's 10 years old. He would like to be a director when he grows up. Any suggestions that you could give to a fellow his age that might help prepare him to be a director?
Secret always is to do well in school, go to college, go to film school, study real hard, and be mindlessly persistent. You know, because the other way you just never happen. I mean, it's a very, you're a very small fish swimming upstream.
Right. I always find that people will ask me, how do you get into comedy, how do you get into this? It really is a question of, well, you just get into it. You just start making films.
A lot of guys graduate from film school. I said, well, now how can I make a movie? I said, well, first you get a camera, then you get some kids to act for you, and then you make a movie. Yeah, but I don't have any money. Well, nobody has any money in the beginning. You just do it with what you got. Sell the furniture, for God's sake.
Right. I got a great Naga high chair, so it's fun. So we know pretty much where everybody's from, except for Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan?
Yeah, where's he from? What's his home planet?
You know,
Don't make it up.
I wouldn't do that. This is something that was one of the first things that I wrote in the very first script.
Really?
Yeah. And he comes from the planet Jon. Since Jon, I mean, I have no idea you existed, obviously.
No.
But since you do exist, and since Obi-Wan's planet is connected with your name and everything, I mean, when Hasbro, I mean, this it was in the old scripts, everybody knows about it. Hasbro reads the scripts, they know about it.
Right.
And Hasbro actually, I don't know, am I supposed to do this, or am I supposed to have part two out? I don't know what the story is. I didn't read a script, I don't know what's going on. This is the only scripted part that I wrote. You will notice this very artistic hat. Hasbro, when they heard that there was a planet Jon, made you into an action figure.
No.
Is that, for those who know, this action figure comes with two, not one, but two heads. Two heads. One looks just like he does right now. The other one has a goatee.
I am not going to let this in any way increase in value. I'm going to open this up and play with it. That's all. You know, look, we've all seen all the, but when I was a kid, like, these were the kinds of things that were so special to see. And I remember all the products from those days. And this is a little treat maybe for you. I have one of my favorite commercials that I remember from the early Star Wars days that we can take a look at, because I also had these. So take a quick look at this.
Now in your galaxy is the new adventures of Star Wars and Underoos Underground.
Timmy, your favorite love Jon. Yoda is the one I choose. I feel like we can play it in my Underoos. Underoos are running in your house. See your underwear that's fun to wear. And there's C-3PO and R2-D2 too.
Underoos are only for Earthlings.
Mark is very much.
you know, you have always been behind the scenes a little bit, but there's a couple of commercials you might remember from Japan.
Oh.
Where,
Well, there was a dark period in my life.
yes, no, I understand.
I fell on very hard times.
Yes.
And out of that, I produced films, but the joy of that period was that I kind of retired and raised my kids. But it meant I had to get a job. And so I became a spokesman for Panasonic.
Yes.
And, you know, and it actually got me through my dark years where
Yes.
I didn't actually have a real job.
I think it's good because we have that. It's a very interesting, at least the one that we picked to show is, with different music, it could seem like an ominous scene where Star Wars characters are going to eat Japanese children. Let's take a look at it and see.
Something new.
Just that last part, it looks like you're introducing Lucas Cologne.
It's something
Do you
half Japanese, half English.
Let's see what we got left. We got a couple of here. All right, this is one. You know, you were talking about the Clone Wars stuff earlier. Someone wanted to know about Baron Papanoida.
Baron Papanoida
Yeah.
came out of, oh God, I get in trouble now. I don't think it was episode 3, I think it was episode 2. Anyway, there's a scene in an opera where I'm there, they finally convinced me to be in the movie because they kept saying, be in the movie, in the movie, and I said, I'm not going to. So I am an extra with my family, my 2 daughters and my son. And so my name was Baron Papanoida, so we're kind of the Papanoida family.
Right. That's nice to be able to include them. You know, a lot of the stuff when you do it, you always do it with your family. They're always it's clear that that's.
Unfortunately, my son got killed by a bunch of stormtroopers, but
It happens.
You know, one of my daughters became a senator, a Muay Thai ultimate fighter, and the other one is a writer.
There you go.
And she actually writes, the writer daughter actually writes the episodes, and she wrote an episode about the family. And of course, my son was upset because he didn't get to do enough fighting. And he said that I got to do all the fighting. But of course, you know, I am Arnold Schwarzenegger and I are.
Yes, they're very similar. It's a very similar thing. Can we see? Do we have that where the family is fighting?
First thing Jet said was, how come I got 1 gun and you got 2 guns? He said, I'm the young.
I'll tell you, Jet though had that. He showed me that fighting scene where in 3, where the guy's about to jump in, Organa's about to jump in the flying car, and he comes out, does tremendous moves. That clip, that was nice. I like that. All right. Is that from the next season, or the Clone Wars? Is that?
Yeah, this is in the next season. I would say the shows are getting better and better, and much more sophisticated. As we go along, they're getting really, really good. I mean, we're already starting to write year 5.
Maybe a student Jon?
Stu
Any
Jon?
anything coming up that you might maybe a guy that's Stu, maybe he's like, is there a character maybe with asthma? You know? Doesn't fight so well, home planet, right? Anybody new?
What, you mean?
No.
Oh, the character Doug Daly from Stu Jon?
Yeah, exactly. Jon Daly from Stu Jon. Who's the new guy coming up in Clone Wars?
The new guy coming in?
Is there a new character?
That's a leading question.
That is a leading question. And I think,
Can you
and I
tell
think
me the
they're going
answer?
to lead into a clip, and they're going to show it, and these people are going to go,
Oh my God, it's a clip. As they get better, another actually episode that my daughter wrote is where Ventress helps, well, I won't go into the whole thing. How do I do this? On the planet that Ventress comes from, there's women on one side, men on the other side. The women control the planet and are the tough ones. The men live in a little enclave. And they live in a little enclave. And the Emperor used one of them to become Darth Maul. And as Ventress finds disfavor with Dooku, she plots to get him another apprentice that she controls, and it turns out to be Darth Maul's brother. And, so there's a whole 4-episode series. Is that what I'm supposed to say? I don't know what I'm telling you.
You created it. I'm just sitting here. Let's take a look.
Sister.
Count Dooku, may I present Savage Opress.
It certainly is a sight to behold.
The fiercest of kind, my lord. He shall serve you well.
Yes, he shall.
I like his growl.
It's great. And it gets better. The adventure there is really, I'm sure you'll love that one.
Now, there's one final thing that I thought maybe that people would like to see us sort of winding down. We had maybe a special guest that might, I don't know, be able to come out and share a piece of information with the fans. I mean, these people have stood outside in 140 degrees.
They were staying up for all night.
They've sweated. It would be nice if there was just a little special moment that we could give to them that could maybe justify them quitting their jobs and jumping in. Driving all the way down here. Is there anything that you
Now what
think
do I-
of that
Now what
could?
am I pitching?
Is there anything?
What? No. The Blu-ray. I wish I could say it was coming out this year, but it's not. It's coming out next year. We put together different kinds of additional material. I've been sort of fighting the behind the scenes. I don't think there's enough behind the scenes left for a lifetime. But there's some really good material being included in there. Some of it is, there's one scene, it's going into the deleted scenes section, which you said, but there's more deleted scenes that you haven't seen yet. And since, and I don't really know too much about that part, but there's somebody here who can help us with that.
Oh, all right.
Who knows more about that scene than I do. It's been a long time and I can't remember.
Oh, all right. Well, if that person is here, that maybe could let us know.
saw this clip for the first time on a golf course coming over here on a computer. This is my natural entrance into Jedi, isn't it? For the first time you see me? I think everybody has their natural entrance in Star Wars, except for me, because I was in the power evaporators. See, I still remember things, even though I'm in the elderly recluse phase of my career. But when they told me what was involved in this scene, I said, I vaguely remember, and of course when they showed me, I really remembered. It's very short, but it's very special. I'm someone who grew up loving the original King Kong and reading Famous Monsters magazines and building all the Aurora kits. And I read for years and years about the lost spider scene. So I can understand for all you UPFs, you ultra passionate fans. And it's special for you because let's face it, you're like family. You know, this is not for the outsiders, this is just for you. Take a look at this. This is my original entrance into the film Return of the Jedi. Let's have a look. It's very short.
Join me on the dark side of the Force. My son, it is the only way. Luke.
You see the cleft chin sticking out of the hood, but the first thing that gets applause is my lightsaber. Thank you. Thank you all so much.
When I look at that, that strikes me as very ominous. Was there more of a thought that Luke might have gone more easily to the dark side? I almost expected that lightsaber to come out red.
I jumped the gun because getting the mechanical hand and the black outfit, the black glove, I said, oh boy, I'm going to be the antagonist in the third one, and the conflict will be whether I, completely turn to the dark side, which turns out to be the plot of the prequels. I didn't know that. He shares with us, but we're on a need-to-know basis.
Well, I'm glad now that we just have everybody together. This is complete now, and we don't have to in any way worry about anything else happening. And that would almost be too much for you. I don't think it would be appropriate to have something like that happen because you don't. Does the vast just turnout of this, does it still blow your minds, and does it feel like yesterday? Does it bring back everything? What's the thought?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, really, it's shocking because you forget the passion that still exists. You know, you put it in perspective in your own life, and then they prove you wrong.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, I sort of said to you yesterday, if we ever thought that this was going to be happening 30 years ago. No, it's fun. I got proposed to yesterday. More than my first.
That's really nice.
You want children? That's going to be rugged. I'm going to do the sex booth later on. I signed NOs, I think, later today. Did you ever put the nude scenes back in? There's a huge me and Java porn scene. That's what got me into drugs.
Well, it's gonna be a couch then. You know, this is, I have to say, for me, you know, someone who discovered the films when they first came out and then rediscovered them through the eyes of my children, it is an absolute pleasure to have been here today and to see all you guys and have a chance to have a conversation with you. George, I can't thank you enough for being here.